we do know that the driving computers are very small. They're like, the circuit board is like this big, I believe, although I don't know if that's size is relative on the screen. It's about the size of your head, the circuit board, but much flatter. So it's smaller than the human brain. But the AI chip is specifically designed for driving cars. So it's like a hardware implementation of the software neural net. So it's very optimized, but it only does driving, from what I understand. It's not a general purpose AI chip. Although you never know, maybe they can adapt it to general purpose AI. I don't know if that's plausible. What I'm trying to say is, like, if driving, like, that's not the thing that learns the driving, that's the thing that implements the driving, right? I think the learning is done on a server somewhere with a much bigger computer, but the results from the learning can run on a fairly small chip that's purposely designed to run the self-driving software. That's what I'm trying to say is, just how much hardware do you need? And again, going back to the translation and the language problem, maybe that would be a similar thing. Like, it'll take a huge computer to learn the real world and to learn all these languages. But maybe the actual translator can be tiny, because the translator itself doesn't need to learn. It just needs to apply what it learned previously. Well, if that's the case, then the translator can't learn any new words or any new slang, for example, unless you get like an update. So it won't learn new words by itself. Because I think what we're seeing now is that the learning is inefficient. Like, the learning requires a lot of computing power. But once you have done the learning, you can, like, compress, or not compress, but like, you can implement the thing that you've learned with a lot less processing power than it takes to learn it in the first place. Which makes sense. Right, like it takes a person years to learn a new language, but once you've learned it, you just speak off the cuff without even thinking very much. Sometimes without thinking enough. But like, I'm just speaking off the cuff, I don't have to think very much to speak. But learning the language took ages. So it does make sense that for AI as well, learning is the harder part, and doing is the easy part. I am very curious. about what Tesla uses to learn driving for its self-driving cars. What on earth just happened there? I'm sliding upwards because the snow is different heights. Sony Aibo, the robot dog. What if you make a robot? Because like the learning takes a lot of processing power, right? So the body, you make it so the body just like records things, and then every so often it plugs into the server, and the server does the learning. Which, as I was thinking about that, I just realized it's very much like the human mind. Like the human mind, during the day you're like doing stuff and you record stuff, quote unquote. And the learning happens at night when you sleep, like when you dream. When you're sleeping, your brain does a lot of processing unconsciously. And well, we don't quite know what dreams are, but one theory is that dreams is the brain processing the things that it has encountered during the day and integrating it into the other things that's already in its memory. So that's kind of like what the brain is doing. It spends like half the time awake and, you know, active, and then it spends the other half doing the learning stuff while we're sleeping. Which also studies have shown that if you don't sleep enough, you don't remember the things you learned nearly as well as if you get enough sleep. Alright, so the paved part is done for the link. I guess now I have to punch dirt and do the underside of this. Where's my gold and iron? Let's get some glowstone, gold, and iron. So glowstone first. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's correct. Two there, two there. Up to there, and then we start punching. Once we get to here. I should look up the eyebow and just find out more about how it actually works. Because I think this idea of offloading the learning to a server might be... Oh wait, that's the wrong height. Might be the right way to go. So then you have like much smaller bodies. Like the robot body is a lot smaller and the brain on the body is a lot smaller than what you would need if you try to do the learning in the same body. One, two, three, 4, 5. Of course, the robot wouldn't need to sleep. Like if it offloads the learning to a server, presumably it can just upload the data to the server whenever it has a connection. And whenever the server has any decent results back, it will just communicate back to the body. And you don't need to like spend 8 to 12 hours sleeping to learn. Actually, now that I remember... No, I remember now. Alpha Star? The one that plays StarCraft, I think it was. They talk about... No, it's the Dota one. The one that plays... It was an OpenAI plays Dota. The Dota one, like the AI that plays Dota is just on one computer. And not like a huge computer, it was just like a PC. I remember now, they like brought out the PCs that would play Dota. But that's not the computer that learns Dota, that's the computer that plays the Dota. No, it is. The computers that learn, or the learning part of the computer is much bigger than the execution part of the computer. Like the computer that plays Dota is just a desktop PC. Whereas they talk about not really wanting to learn more characters for Dota or try to play better Dota because like they couldn't afford the processing. They couldn't afford the servers. So they made Dota that played like I think 20 heroes. But you know, every hero you add multiplies the number of matchups exponentially, right? Because if you have 2 heroes, then it's just 1 versus 1. You have 3 heroes, you have 6 matchups. 3 heroes, there's 3 matchups. 4 heroes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 6 matchups. And it just grows exponentially. So the more heroes you add, the more the number of situations it encounters grows exponentially. And they were saying that they could do it, but it would like cost an exponentially longer time or exponentially more processing power as they add more and more heroes to the hero pool. And basically it wasn't cost effective. They knew they could do it, but it would just cost too much money. So they only made an AI that plays 20 heroes. They didn't make an AI that plays all the heroes. And that was them talking about not being able to afford the size of the servers to learn everything. But that's the learning part. That's not the playing part. The playing part is just a desktop PC, which, you know, anyone could afford for a few $1,000, if that. So learning is the hard part. Execution is easy. Which conceivably, the problem of general purpose AI is learning. It's not doing. It's, I mean, obviously I just you know, I just talked about how it is. But I mean, what it means is it might take a long time for the AI to learn everything there is to learn. But once it's done doing that, it'll just be superhuman in its capabilities. And by learning everything there is to learn, I mean learn everything that we have to teach it in terms of all human knowledge. Obviously there's more things to be discovered out in the universe. One, two, three, 4, and 5. So the problem of language, for example, is not how do we teach AI language, it's just how much time does it take to teach AI language. And once we've taught it, or rather once it has learned itself, then everything else about language is just easy. And the same for every other aspect of knowledge.